time.
12 songs, all of them classics now. Every single one of them was buried, rejected, dismissed, or flat out called garbage before the world got a chance to hear what they really were. We are not talking about obscure records that nobody plays. We are talking about songs at your cookout, songs at your wedding, songs still on the radio 50 years later. Songs at a presidential inauguration. Every one of them, somebody in power said no.
Now I'm just gonna sit at the dock of a bay.
Number 12, Ain't No Sunshine, Bill Withers, 1971. The man who wrote this song was 32 years old. He was installing toilet seats on Boeing 747s at a factory in Burbank, California. Not performing, not touring, putting lavatories in airplanes, and when the song finally went gold, he refused to quit his job because he did not trust the music industry that much. Bill Withers had been shopping demo tapes around for years while working factory jobs. Douglas Aircraft, IBM, Ford. He finally gets signed to Sussex Records in 1971, and Booker T. Jones produces the debut album.
She goes away.
Brings in Stephen Stills on guitar. The session players are elite. This should have been a clean launch. But here is the thing.
Only darkness every day.
Ain't No Sunshine, the song that becomes the breakout hit, is not even the A-side, it is the B-side. They put a different song called Harlem on the front of that single. The label thought Harlem was the hit. And here is the other thing.
Wonder this time where she's.
The song has no introduction. The vocals come in immediately. No setup, no build, just Bill's voice, right there. That was considered bad for radio.
She's gone to stay.
Disc jockeys needed time to talk over an intro. Then there is that bridge, the part where he repeats, I know, 26 times. He was planning to rewrite it, fix it, make it more conventional.
Shine when she's gone, she's always gone too long.
The musicians in the studio told him, leave it. Leave the 26 I knows exactly where they are. The disc jockeys flipped the single themselves. They buried Harlem and played the B-side. And then one morning, Bill Withers gets 2 letters.
Anytime she goes away.
One from his former employer, Weber Aircraft, offering him his mechanic job back at $3.50 an hour. The second from Johnny Carson's Tonight Show, inviting him to perform Ain't No Sunshine on NBC.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
He said he stood there holding both letters, not knowing which one to open first. That is this song, a 32-year-old factory worker who didn't believe in himself enough to quit his day job. A label that buried it on the B-side, and a song that still does something to you a half-century later. That is not an accident. That is just what a true song is.
When she's gone, and this house just ain't no home.
Number 11, A Change Is Gonna Come, Sam Cooke, 1964.
Oh, yes it will.
Sam Cooke performed this song exactly once in public, one time. Then he never sang it on a stage again.
A change gonna come. Oh, yes it.
Not because he didn't believe in it, because it frightened him. His friend Bobby Womack heard a rough version and told Sam it sounded like death. And Sam looked at him and said, yeah, I know.
Oh, to my brother.
By 1963, Sam Cooke had crossed over in a way almost no black artist had managed. You Send Me had gone to #1 on the pop charts in 1957. He was playing the Copacabana. He was careful. He was accepted by white America in a way that felt precarious, felt like something that could be taken back. And he knew it. Then one night in October 1963, he and his wife and his group are turned away from a Holiday Inn in Shreveport, Louisiana. The desk clerk says no vacancy. Sam's wife grabs his arm and whispers, "Sam, they'll kill you."
It's been a long.
He wouldn't leave. He was arrested for disturbing the peace outside a whites-only motel. 3 months later, sitting at a piano, he finished writing, "A Change Is Gonna Come."
Change gonna come. Oh, yeah.
He recorded it in January 1964 at RCA Studios in Hollywood. A full orchestra, strings, something cinematic.
Oh, yes it will.
He performed it once in February on The Tonight Show. The same week the Beatles landed in America, so most of the country was looking the other way. RCA never made it the A-side of a single. They buried it on the back of Shake, a dance record, because A Change Is Gonna Come was too heavy, too political, too slow. The version they sent to radio stations actually had a verse removed, the one that most directly addressed racism. They cut it, thought it was too much.
But now I think I'm able to carry.
The single was scheduled for December 22nd, 1964. Sam Cooke was shot and killed on December 11th, 11 days before his own record arrived in stores.
Oh, yes it will.
He never heard it on the radio, never saw what it meant to people, never heard it become the anthem it became.
A change gonna come. Oh, yes it will.
Rolling Stone placed it at #3 on their list of the 500 greatest songs of all time.
Coming, but I know a change gonna come.
Bob Dylan's "Blowin' in the Wind" was what made Sam say, "Why is a white man writing our song?" And then he wrote what many people consider the definitive answer, and the label still tried to hide it.
It's been a long.
Real talk, only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's one coffee a month, and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 10, At Last, Etta James, 1961. Etta James was 22 years old when she walked into Chess Records in Chicago. And the song they wanted her to record, the one they thought might take her to another level, had already been around for 20 years.
You should remember this one.
It was a Glenn Miller tune from 1941, a white big band record from before Etta was old enough to remember. Nobody was covering Glenn Miller in 1960.
Trust in me, baby.
At Last had been a hit during World War II, appeared in a movie, made the top 10, and then mostly drifted away. Etta James was a raw, gritty R&B singer who had built her name on rougher material.
I do my Sunday dreaming.
She was not what you pictured when you pictured someone standing in front of a full orchestra singing a 20-year-old ballad. But Leonard Chess heard something. He thought Etta could be a class act, not just an R&B act.
the night I looked at you.
He brought in Riley Hampton to arrange the strings. He put Etta in the room with the musicians and basically said, "Do what you do." Here is what gets me about this. The music industry in 1960 was still deeply segregated. Radio was segregated.
The sky's above.
The idea that a black R&B singer from the rough side of Los Angeles could take a forgotten white big band standard and turn it into something that transcended all of that was not a plan anybody had mapped out.
I love to last past Saturday.
It just happened when Etta James opened her mouth around those strings. At last, peaked at number 2 on the R&B chart, number 47 on the pop chart. Not a runaway hit at first, but it never went away.
Trust in me.
It kept playing at weddings, in films. 60 years later, Beyoncé performed it at Barack Obama's inaugural ball. And when Etta heard about that, she was upset. Not really at Beyoncé, but because nobody had thought to invite her to sing her own song.
And my heart was wrapped up. Oh, it was.
A 20-year-old forgotten standard, an artist nobody thought could pull it off, and one of the most played songs in American music history.
Love at first sight.
I want to say something before we go to number 9. There is a story coming later on this list that still gets to me.
Wrapped up in clover, baby.
Somebody recorded one of these songs in a hospital back brace, recovering from surgery, with the whole industry saying their career was finished. We will get there. Number 9. Respect, Aretha Franklin, 1967. You know this song. You have known it your whole life. But stay with me, because the story behind this record is not what most people know. Aretha Franklin spent 6 years at Columbia Records, 9 albums, almost nothing to show for it commercially. They put her in supper club arrangements, had her sing standards, kept her away from gospel, away from the church, away from the very thing that made her Aretha. By the time she left Columbia in 1966, she was $80,000 in debt to the label. The industry had looked at one of the greatest voices in human history and said, "We don't know what to do with you." She signed to Atlantic Records. Producer Jerry Wexler brought her to Muscle Shoals, Alabama, sat her down at the piano and told her, "Just be Aretha. That's simple. Wait. I see you. You already said her name before I even got there. I know you did." The song she chose to cover had already been a hit for someone else. Otis Redding wrote and recorded Respect in 1965. His version reached number 35 on the pop chart. A good record, but it was a man's song. A man coming home asking for appreciation. Aretha heard it on the radio one afternoon while cleaning her apartment. She and her sister Carolyn started working out what it would sound like from a woman's perspective. From a woman who is not asking, who is telling, she added the "sock it to me" lines, added the spelling of RESPECT, added a bridge built on a Sam and Dave track. She walked into Atlantic Studios on Valentine's Day 1967 and recorded it in one burning session. When Otis heard her version, he went quiet. Then he said, "That girl just took my song. From now on, it belongs to her." Number 1 on both the pop chart and the R&B chart. 2 Grammys at the 1968 ceremony. Rolling Stone later named it the greatest song of all time. And it came from a woman who had been mismanaged for 6 years, was $80,000 in debt, and took someone else's record to say everything the industry had been refusing to let her say. She didn't get respect. She took it. Number 8. I Can't Stop Loving You. Ray Charles, 1962. The music industry in 1962 was deeply segregated, not just in how it was marketed, but in how it thought. R&B artists stayed in R&B, country artists stayed in country. Those two worlds did not cross. And when Ray Charles told ABC Paramount Records he wanted to record a full album of country music, the executives looked at each other and quietly concluded he is going to ruin his career.
Girls, why don't you sing it again for me?
Ray Charles had already fused gospel and blues to invent soul music, had already proved the industry wrong once. But this was different. This was a black R&B icon telling his label he wanted to record Hank Williams and Don Gibson songs, and do it with a big band and a string section. The classical musicians who came into those sessions were skeptical. Even they didn't believe the fusion would work. What they didn't understand was that Ray Charles had negotiated complete creative control over his own recordings, one of the first black artists in the industry to achieve that. And he used it. He walked in and did exactly what he had in his head. No compromise, no crossover calculation. I Can't Stop Loving You, originally a Don Gibson country ballad, was the lead single.
It's useless to say.
And when it hit radio, something nobody expected happened. Country stations played it, pop stations played it, R&B stations played it. It reached number 1 on the pop chart for 5 weeks, number 1 on the R&B chart for 10.
I've already made up my mind, babe.
NPR would later describe the initial reaction from the industry as perceiving Ray Charles's venture into country, I want to be precise about this word, condescendingly. They thought he was doing a novelty. The album Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music sat at the top of the Billboard chart for 14 weeks. It became the best-selling album of 1962. ABC Paramount's first million seller. If you are at a gathering and this song comes on, people stop mid-sentence, not because they are being polite, because what Ray Charles did to that country ballad reached somewhere universal, somewhere that had nothing to do with genre or chart format.
I can't stop.
The industry said this would end him. He said, watch. Number 7, 3 Times a Lady, Commodores, 1978. Lionel Richie wrote this song and immediately decided it was not a Commodore's record.
Twice.
He had written it in his head, imagining Frank Sinatra singing it, a waltz, in 3/4 time, from the group that made Brick House. That one, a waltz, for Sinatra. The Commodores had been together since 1968, 10 years of funk and soul and party music. By 1977, they had their biggest pop hit yet with Brick House, hard driving and confident, peaking at number 5. And then the tender ballad Easy worked too. But 3 Times a Lady was a different animal entirely. It came from a toast Lionel's father made at his parents' 37th anniversary party. His father stood up and thanked his mother for being his friend, his wife, and his mother. Lionel heard that, went home, and wrote a waltz. He played it for producer James Carmichael and specifically said, "This is a Frank Sinatra song, not a Commodore's song." Carmichael disagreed. He insisted the group record it. One night, a stage manager caught Lionel playing it on a practice piano in a dim hallway outside a television studio. Half finished, no full lyrics yet, just the mood of it. Everyone in that hallway stopped. You could feel it even then, unfinished. Here is what was underneath the whole thing, though. The Commodores were built on funk. That was their identity, their credibility, and moving toward the kind of gentle, string-laden territory that 3 Times a Lady represented was eventually going to fracture the group. Some members did not want to be a ballad band, and they were right that Richie would leave. Eventually, he did. But that is the future. In 1978, this waltz, the one Lionel Richie thought was for Frank Sinatra, became the Commodore's first #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 after 10 years together. 10 years! It sat at the top of the UK charts for 5 weeks, making it the biggest Motown hit in British chart history. And whether the ballad version of the Commodores was better than the funk version, I will leave that with you. But I know which version people play at their anniversaries.
3 times a lady.
Number 6. Number 5. My Prerogative, Bobby Brown, 1988. Bobby Brown left New Edition, or was asked to leave, depending on who is telling the story, in 1986. He was 17 years old, and the verdict from the industry was immediate. He is nothing without the group. His first solo album stalled on the charts. And a lot of people said, "Told you so." The kid from Boston needed those other 5 people to matter. By 1988, MCA Records gives him a second shot. They bring in Babyface and L.A. Reid to produce the bulk of the album. Sessions go well, Bobby listens back, and he decides something is missing. He needs one more song, not smooth, not calculated, something that speaks back to every single person who said he was finished. He travels to New York with a producer named Gene Griffin and walks into Axis Studios. He sits down and writes what he has been carrying since the day he got pushed out of his own group. My Prerogative is not just a song, it is a direct address to the press, to the critics, to former management, to anyone who told a teenager that he needed 5 other people to be worth something. He is telling them, "This is my life, and I will live it how I choose." Teddy Riley, who would define New Jack Swing as a sound and an era, comes in. And what they build together is not just a statement, it is a blueprint for a whole new strain of R&B. Hard, rhythmic, unapologetic. The night before Bobby Brown's 20th birthday, he headlined Madison Square Garden. And New Edition, the group that had moved on without him, opened for him. Let that sit for a second. Tell me why. Then the night ended with My Prerogative, LL Cool J, Heavy D, and Run all came out and freestyled over it. Babyface and L.A. Reid were on that stage. Teddy Riley played a solo. It was a coronation.
I live my life.
My Prerogative hit #1 on both the Billboard Hot 100 and the R&B chart. Every single word of that song was earned. You can hear it.
But I don't give a damn. Getting girls is
That is not performance. That is a young man who looked the industry in the eye and refused to disappear.
the way that I wanna live. It's my prerogative. I could do just
Number 4, I Will Survive, Gloria Gaynor, 1978.
From outer space, I just walked in to find you here with that.
Earlier I said there was a story coming on this list that still gets to me.
Walk out the door, just turn around now.
Somebody recording one of the greatest songs in history while wearing a literal back brace, with the whole world saying their career was finished.
It took all the strength I had not to fall apart. Kept trying hard.
We are here. Gloria Gaynor had fallen backward off a stage at the Beacon Theater in New York in 1978. She woke up the next morning, unable to move her legs. Word spread fast in the music business. The Queen of Disco is dead. While she was still recovering from spinal surgery, still in a brace, Polydor Records came to her with a project.
All my life to live, and I've got all my love to give, and I'll survive.
A producer named Freddie Perrin was producing a cover of a song called Substitute, an international hit by a South African group called Clout, and they needed a B-side.
If I'd have known for just 1 second, you'd be back to bother me going down.
Perrin negotiated to write the B-side himself. He and his co-writer handed Gloria the lyrics of I Will Survive, scribbled on a piece of brown paper. She read it and knew. This was the song. Not Substitute. This one. She tried to convince Polydor to release I Will Survive as the A-side. The president of the label said no. Specifically, he wanted Substitute in front. Everyone who worked on that session knew I Will Survive was the stronger record. The label still said no.
I will survive. I will survive.
Gloria's husband took copies of the record to Studio 54. He gave them to DJ Richie Kadzor. Kadzor heard it and loved it immediately. He gave copies to his friends. Other DJs started playing the B-side. Radio stations followed.
One who tried to break me with his mind, you think I'd crumble? You think I
Substitute barely grazed the bottom of the chart. I Will Survive entered the Billboard Hot 100 in December 1978 and just kept climbing.
too strong, and I learned how to get along and so young back.
She recorded that song wearing a back brace, singing about survival while her own body was still healing. When she sang the words, she meant them on 4 levels at once.
Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know I'll be alive. I've got all
Her body, her career, and she has said that her first instinct when she read those lyrics, at first I was afraid, I was petrified, is that it was about her, right then, in that room.
I love to give, and I'll survive. I will survive.
3 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, 4 weeks at #1 in the UK, Grammy Award for Best Disco Recording, 15 million copies sold worldwide, and it was the B-side they refused to release first.
Kept thinking I could never leave without.
Number 3, Never Too Much, Luther Vandross, 1981.
I didn't like my love fantasy. There's not a minute, hour, day.
Luther Vandross spent a decade being one of the best-kept secrets in pop music. He sang background for Bette Midler, Barbra Streisand. He sat in on a David Bowie session, spent some time in the elevator just talking to Bowie, and ended up on Young Americans. He toured with Chic, He sang jingles for Juicy Fruit, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Burger King. The man was everywhere in the music industry and invisible at the same time, because he was always in the back. He had tried fronting a group called Luther on Cotillion Records in 1976. 2 albums, both failed commercially. The label dropped them. By the late 1970s, the industry had a clear idea of what Luther Vandross was: a session vocalist. Valuable, in demand, well paid to support other people's visions, and comfortable, too comfortable. Roberta Flack told him he was wasting himself, said he was getting too comfortable in the back row, that a voice like his was not meant to be supporting someone else's lead. She shook him out of it. You just smiled. Some of you have a person in your life who said one thing to you that changed everything. That is what this was for Luther.
Just to get me started, I called you up, but you weren't there.
He recorded demos for Never Too Much and Sugar and Spice. Took them to Epic Records. They signed him on the spot. And in the summer of 1981, at 30 years old, after 15 years in the industry, Luther Vandross introduced himself to the world for the first time. Never Too Much hit number 1 on the R&B chart within weeks of release. The album debuted at number 1 on the R&B album chart, double platinum, 2 Grammy nominations, Best New Artist, and Best R&B Vocal Performance Male. And here is what I think about when I think about those 10 years in the back. The decade of being a session singer gave Luther Vandross perfect technique. He had studied the best producers, the best arrangements, the best voices of the era from up close. He didn't just become a great R&B singer. He became the definitive R&B singer of the 1980s. And that might not have happened if Roberta Flack hadn't said, "Get out of the back." Number 2, Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay, Otis Redding, 1968. Otis Redding had never had a top 10 pop hit. His entire career. I've Been Loving You Too Long, Try a Little Tenderness, Respect, massive in soul, massive in R&B, but the pop crossover had always been just out of reach.
Just to make this dock my home.
And in December of 1967, something started shifting in him. He went into the studio with a different feeling, something quieter than anyone expected from him.
Be sitting when the evening comes.
Otis co-wrote Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay with his guitarist Steve Cropper in the weeks after his performance at the Monterey Pop Festival that summer.
Watching the tide roll away.
At Monterey, he had connected with a new, younger, mixed audience in a way that surprised even him, and something clicked. He wanted to reach further, not by being louder, but by going still, by actually sitting down. He recorded the song in Memphis in early December 1967. It is gentle, reflective, a man watching ships go by, watching the tide come in and go out, going nowhere. It was unlike anything in his catalog, and when he got to the final verse, where the song needed to resolve, he hadn't written it yet. The lyric wasn't finished. So he did what you do in the moment. He whistled. Sat down at the mic and whistled the melody over the track, and they kept it. 3 days later, on December 10th, Otis Redding's plane went down into Lake Monona, outside Madison, Wisconsin. He was 26 years old.
Sitting in the morning sun.
4 members of the Bar-Kays also died. Steve Cropper got the call and faced a decision no one wanted to make. He had this recording in the can, with a whistled ending that nobody had planned, and he had to decide whether to release it and how to present it. Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay came out in January 1968. The industry wasn't sure it would connect. It was so quiet, so different from the Otis they thought they knew.
Just to make this dock my home.
Then it went to number 1, his first and only pop number 1. He never heard it on the radio. He never saw the charts. He recorded a song about a man watching ships pass by with no destination. And then he was gone before the song ever arrived.
Everything still remains the same.
If you have ever felt like you were just sitting somewhere, watching life move, and this song came on, you know exactly what it does.
Watching the ships roll in, and then I watch.
Otis Redding made the most still record of his life in the last hours of his life. And the industry had always seen him as fire. He always had more range than they ever gave him credit for.
In the dock of the bay, watching the tide.
Number 1, What's Going On? Marvin Gaye, 1971. This is the story of an artist who went on strike, who refused to record another note until a song called The Worst Thing the Label Had Ever Heard was finally released. By 1970, Marvin Gaye was in pain. His duet partner Tammy Terrell had died after a 3-year struggle with a brain tumor. His brother Frankie had come back from Vietnam, carrying stories Marvin could not stop thinking about. And all of it, the grief, the rage, the confusion about what America was becoming, he wanted to put it in the music. Motown told him no. Their brand was the sound of young America. Not sorrow, not the Vietnam War, not protests. A Four Tops member named Obie Benson had seen police beating protesters at People's Park in Berkeley in 1969. He couldn't shake it. He wrote a song with a writer named Al Cleveland, tried to give it to his own group. The Four Tops turned it down. Obie brought it to Marvin. Marvin rewrote it, added his own melody, produced it himself, and brought it to Berry Gordy. Gordy was on vacation in the Bahamas when Marvin called. Marvin told him he wanted to record protest songs. Gordy said, "Marvin, don't be ridiculous. That's taking things too far." And when Gordy actually heard the finished song, he announced those exact words. "This is the worst thing I have ever heard in my life." Every member of Motown's Quality Control Board voted against releasing it. The only voice in the entire building who defended the record was Stevie Wonder. Marvin Gaye went on strike. He told Motown he would not record a single note until they released What's Going On. Motown needed new Marvin Gaye product badly enough that an executive named Harry Balk finally released the single completely behind Berry Gordy's back, pressed 100,000 copies, and sent them to radio stations across the country. They sold out within a week. Another 100,000 were pressed immediately. By the time Berry Gordy found out What's Going On had become the fastest-selling Motown single in history. 5 weeks at the top of the R&B chart, number 2 on the pop chart. 2 million copies sold. Gordy then told Marvin to finish a full album of anything he wanted in 30 days. Marvin did it in 10. And what's going on? The album Berry Gordy, called Garbage, is now ranked by Rolling Stone as the greatest album ever made. The BBC called it a masterpiece. Berry Gordy himself eventually said it was probably the greatest piece of work Motown ever put out. That is the man who called it the worst thing he ever heard.